Yesterday, we discussed this extremely dangerous lie that's being told by Trump and then bolstered by the likes of Marjorie Greene and spiraling out of control in the right-wing media echo chamber. And now I have for you Trump's latest late night rage session, his meltdown overnight, that is related to this same lie. And I have to tell you, we'll get into this more later on, but transparently, I'm freaked out by this. We've seen so many horrible things, but just the willingness for people to go along with something that could get people hurt and is this severe is really freaking me out, but we'll reflect on that a little bit later. First, of course, the thing that I'm referencing is now a bunch of people in MAGA, started by Trump, are claiming that Joe Biden tried to assassinate Trump. A complete lie. I'll fact check it again a little bit later on, but media reports Trump rants all night. Wild fantasy Biden tried to assassinate him now includes FBI Secret Service gun battle. So again, we talked about this yesterday. Now I'm showing you the latest meltdown from him. Former President Donald Trump was up all night ranting on Truth Social, including a new version of his wild assassination fantasy that featured President Joe Biden's FBI gunning for Trump's Secret Service detail. Right-wing hysteria has reached a fever pitch over a false claim that the FBI raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort was actually an assassination attempt. And before showing you the most recent post for those who missed the past segment, to remind you, Trump initially posted this: "Wow, I just came out of the Biden witch hunt trial in Manhattan, the icebox, and was shown reports that crooked Joe Biden's DOJ and their illegal and unconstitutional raid of Mar-a-Lago." By the way, lawful search warrant signed off on by a judge, executed by law enforcement organizations, are not unconstitutional and illegal. Authorized the FBI to use deadly lethal force. Now we know for sure that Joe Biden's a serious threat to democracy. He's mentally unfit to hold office. 25th Amendment. And then he even sent out fundraising emails, as we looked at yesterday. Breaking from Trump, Biden's DOJ was authorized to shoot me. It's just been revealed that Biden's DOJ was authorized to use deadly force for the despicable raid of Mar-a-Lago. You know, they're just itching to do the unthinkable. At one point, Trump said he nearly avoided death. Just ultimate victimhood complex. It's deranged. Then here's his latest post, and then we'll get to the Attorney General having to respond to this, a Fox News reporter ripping it to shreds and proving how embarrassing it is that people are pushing this, and other fact checks. But Trump wrote, "I've gotten to know so many amazing United States Secret Service agents. It's been my honor to have them protecting me and my family since our historic 2016 victory against beautiful Hillary Clinton. Shockingly, however, crooked Joe Biden's Department of Injustice authorized the use of deadly force in their illegal, unconstitutional, and un-American raid of Mar-a-Lago, and that would include against our great Secret Service, who they thought might be in the line of fire," he says. "As I told Crooked Joe's DOJ, if they needed anything, all they had to do was ask." Interesting, because they did for months and months and months and months, and you refused. "They did not have to illegally and unconstitutionally raid my home and rummage through my family's, including Barron's private quarters, in these third world witch hunts and make America great again." Now, as we talk so much about repeating something a million times, if it's not true, doesn't make it any more true, right? You saying something that's untrue more and more and more times, you'll never have those negatives cancel out into a positive and make it any more true than it is. We don't have time for other ones of his rants last night, calling Biden a threat to democracy again, this other post, but let's just move on from that. And before I dive into it more, here is CNN's Aaron Burnett fact-checking this dangerous claim.
Now, they're basing this on newly unsealed documents related to the 2022 search of Mar-a-Lago. Now, among those documents was something called a Law Enforcement Operations Order, which explains what agents are allowed to do and what they're allowed to bring with them, in this case, when they searched Mar-a-Lago. So what's in there is boilerplate language from the Justice Department manual about the use of force. It's boilerplate. It's everywhere. When the officer has a reasonable belief that the subject of such force poses an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury to the officer or to another person. The language is standard, and it is directly from the department's manual. By the way, they also knew that Trump was 1,000 miles away when they went in, so they knew he wasn't even there. But the former FBI deputy operations chief Rob D'Amico, tells Outfront that the language included here is, quote, standard language for every single operation, bar none. Boilerplate, every single situation. What Trump is saying is just a disinformation campaign, highlighting it for people who don't know. Now, a disinformation campaign about a case that Trump is trying to stop from ever coming to trial.
Yeah, so while Trump's fantasizing about the situation where he was almost killed and Marjorie Greene's pushing that idea and the Secret Service, they were ready to shoot the Secret Service while they defended me. The reality is this was standard operating procedure. The document that they've taken, or the part of the document they've taken and distorted to tell this story, is really just outlining what agents should do when carrying firearms that could be deadly when executing a lawful search warrant. And as a side note, isn't it weird that the people who say even when you're at a bar with friends or at your child's soccer game, you should have your gun on you at all times, and now they have an issue with law enforcement officers having deadly force on them, but the document they're referencing is explicitly limiting the use of those deadly weapons to absolutely necessary moments where severe bodily harm or death is imminent, right? That's whenever weapons are supposed to be used by law enforcement officers, and that's what this is outlining. And by the way, Jackie Heinrich of Fox News says FBI searches at President Biden's homes also included deadly force policy, which is standard. Yesterday, former President Trump suggested that Biden administration wanted to kill him during a search of his Mar-a-Lago estate. A fundraising email read what I already told you. The FBI said standard protocol was followed, no additional steps were taken, and there was no departure from the norm. This news about the deadly force policy also being in place for the FBI searches at Biden's homes underscores that point. Yes, so I guess if Biden was trying to assassinate Trump with this lawful search warrant where they were operating normally, then he was trying to assassinate himself because the same policy was being used. It's crazy. Here's Merrick Garland.
On that one, that allegation is false, and it is extremely dangerous. The document that is being referred to in the allegation is the Justice Department's standard policy limiting the use of force. As the FBI advises, it is part of the standard operations plan for searches, and in fact, it was even used in the consensual search of President Biden's home.
So this has gotten so out of control that the Attorney General of the United States is having to say, whoa, no, this is not at all what it's being portrayed to be in much of right-wing media. And I just return to a couple things. First, stop it. You're not the biggest victim in the world, Trump. Get over yourself. You are not the victim that you think that you are. Maybe you are just being held accountable for your actions and everyone else is not operating in the bad faith, unconstitutional, unlawful ways that you allege. And really, it's you who's acted in those ways. And then number two, right now, as I said yesterday, Trump's lawyers are arguing in front of the Supreme Court that Trump and other presidents should have absolute immunity, should have the sort of immunity that would allow Biden to do the thing they're saying he tried to do, which he didn't. They're saying a president should be able to assassinate their political opponent and not be able to be criminally prosecuted. That would include the conspiracy theory they're pushing now, which is all super bonkers. Here's Jim Acosta on CNN and then Van Jones responding to this in ways that I absolutely resonated with.
Van, to you first. I mean, there are times when I'm reading the teleprompter and I'm reading this stuff and I can't believe the words that are coming out of my mouth. And this is one of those cases because it almost seems foolish to ask you, Van, what do you think about this? I mean, obviously, it just boggles the mind.
Well, it's very dangerous. I mean, we can kind of put in a cartoon clown nonsense from Donald Trump, but what what he's doing is consistently undermining the American public's faith in America's government. America's government is not authorizing anybody to kill Donald Trump. But you start putting these conspiracies out there over and over again. This is termite politics. You're eating into the foundational competence of the people in the government. That's delegitimating America's government. That's what foreign adversaries try to do. That's what Iran is trying to do. That's what Russia is trying to do. Donald Trump is eating into the legitimacy of American democracy, and he does this type of stuff, and we don't know where it ultimately leads, but it's not a good place.
Yeah, so absolutely correct there. And I said earlier, so I'll return to this, that I'm scared. And I think it's important to balance, because I really do feel both of these ways. Being clear with you all and real on stories in how bad they can be and how frightening they can be, and also expressing the optimism that I do feel, so that we have the balance on that I think is really important to keep us motivated. But I am really freaked out. I am really disturbed, I think is the correct word, by what we're observing here. And this isn't exactly a new take, obviously, but I want to reiterate it because, and I feel this on two fronts. I'm disturbed, obviously, that Trump could win. I don't think he will. I hope that he won't. We're going to work our tails off to make sure he doesn't. But the polling reveals it is possible, right? It's not obvious that Biden's going to win the landslide by a long shot. So that's disturbing by itself, that this guy, with everything we've learned about him, and with the contrast between him and Biden, could have a shot, and a really good one at that. That's obvious. That's a reason to be terrified and disturbed. Okay. But there's a second that we focus less on sometimes, which is that whatever formula, concoction allowed for Trump to be able to attain the influence and power that he has, that's going to remain. Trump could be defeated, and if that happens, we're going to celebrate together. It's going to be very exciting. I do think the majority of Americans are sane and will get out there and defeat Trump if we inform people properly on the stakes. But a bunch of Americans, millions and millions of Americans, are still going to characteristically feel the same way about politics that allowed them to side with Trump. And where that goes next, we don't know. And that's scary and sad. And the fact that here it would take, and this could be so upset, it would take a 2-second Google to figure out why Trump's lying. And then think with your brain why it is that he'd lie like this so easily. Maybe he's lying about other things. But the 2-second Google's never done to figure out, oh wait, this is standard operating procedure. This is not an assassination attempt. But millions of Americans now believe Biden tried to assassinate Trump. And whatever has been created, the right-wing media echo chamber, the abandonment of certain basic facts, of certain democratic principles, the sort of exacerbating of hateful feelings, the fear-mongering about different subjects, whatever combination of these things that is currently present that allows for these lies, these talking points to spiral out of control so easily and so many people to believe the election was stolen, that's going to remain. Whatever characteristics currently exist that create that bubble that people can live in, that's going to stay the same. And that's freaky. That's really, really sad. But all we can do now is work to defeat Trump. I'm sorry to leave you on that note, but that's where my heart's at. Okay? It's disturbing. And let me say, so many people are willing to give power to, often because of a lack of understanding maybe, to really dangerous movement, and they themselves are good people, right? You have people, if you do in your life with different crazy political views, who are good people. They love their family, they treat people well, whatever, but they're crazy politically. And so it's not to say that they're fundamentally broken or something. It's just that whatever it is that has led them here, thus far, we haven't been able to undo that. So how do we pull enough people out of this so we can just get past this altogether, the insanity of it, not just Trump, but the insanity of this moment? Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments.